I remember speaking to a young woman not too long ago about her objections to Christianity. She was concerned that the Bible was written by men, for men, and that the teachings of the church were designed to oppress women. Maybe something about the young woman's opinion resonates with you, and Christianity seems like a religion which erases the significance and agency of women from its history and present. If we take a deeper look, there are indeed some chilling accounts of women treated awfully in the pages of Scripture. Women who were enslaved, women who suffered abuses and violence of all kinds, and women who were judged on the basis of their inability to have children. These accounts make women seem like the extras in the story of Christianity in which men played centre stage. In this light, Christianity does not appear to be good news for women. However, the fact that the Bible records events where women were treated badly does not mean that such treatment of women is being endorsed. Reverend Dr. Clare Williams explains this in her book, God Remembered Rachel. She writes, "We will need to observe the difference between places where the Old Testament is prescriptive, says how life should be, and where it is only descriptive, says how life is." And this is a really helpful way of making sense of accounts of things, sometimes awful things, which happened to women in the Bible. And when we begin to do this, we see that often descriptions of terrible cruelties which women endured in various Bible narratives are actually an indictment of the society in which they lived, rather than a divine endorsement of systems of patriarchy which caused women harm. Consider the book of Judges chapter 19, which describes a truly horrific example of violence towards a woman. A few chapters later, Judges 21 and verse 25, it provides the lens through which we can begin to process this horror. All the people did whatever seemed right in their own eyes. The emphasis here is upon brokenness, or sin as God calls it, which means that often when we turn away from Him, we can perpetuate frighteningly cruel harm upon one another. It forces us to confront our ability as humans to be capable of some of the greatest goods and the worst evils, like the one described in Judges 19. And we only need to look back at the record of human history or look around at injustices today to see and know that something about this rings true. So far from sanctioning oppression of women, the Bible does not hide or sanitize cruelties to women. It calls it out, critiques, and condemns it. But this is only part of what we see concerning women in the Bible. There are also many countercultural instances where women are treated with dignity. In the book of Numbers, chapter 27, a family of sisters demonstrate a sense of agency as they bring attention to their plight after their father's death. From this, God intervenes and sanctions a change in the Jewish law of the time to enable this family of orphan sisters to receive an inheritance. This kind of property ownership is progressive even by today's standards, where women can find it more difficult to get onto the property ladder by themselves. In the New Testament, we see Jesus subverting the culture by speaking to a Samaritan woman in St. John chapter 4. Based upon the woman's gender, ethnicity, religion, and even failed relationships, Jesus had every reason not to speak to her. Even his own disciples were shocked when they saw this conversation underway. And this shock would turn to disbelief when in St. John 20, another woman, Mary Magdalene, was the first to report to the disciples that the stone covering Jesus' tomb had been moved. And naturally suspicious of what she had to say, the men ran to the tomb to fact-check her story. And their behaviour is in keeping with first century culture where, according to Jewish Roman historian Josephus Flavius, a woman's testimony was not reliable. In Antiquities he writes, "But let not the testimony of women be admitted on account of the levity and boldness of their sex." Flying in the face of this sexist idea, the God of the Bible makes women the first witnesses to the greatest miracles which bookend the life and ministry of Jesus. First, there is the incarnation with Mary birthing the Son of God, and the resurrection where women are the first to see that Jesus defeated our greatest enemy, death. In fact, the miracle of the resurrection demonstrates the dignity and love that God has for women. It is women who are the first to witness and share the good and greatest news of Christianity. Good news that Jesus doesn't just reconfigure women's relationship to men, but even more significantly, he reconciles us to God and revolutionizes our relationship to him.